The forest stood ominously before us, its towering trees casting long, eerie shadows as the sun dipped below the horizon. My friends and I had set out for a weekend camping trip, seeking adventure and escape from the mundane city life. Little did we know, we were about to step into a nightmare that would haunt us forever. The first day went by without a hitch. We pitched our tents near a tranquil stream, its gentle babbling providing a soothing soundtrack to our laughter and camaraderie. The fire crackled and the smell of roasting marshmallows filled the air. We shared stories, jokes, and dreams as the darkness deepened around us. As the fire burned low, John suggested we play a game to pass the time. We gathered around in a circle, and he produced a dusty old Ouija board he claimed to have found in the trunk of his car. Despite my reservations, I reluctantly agreed to join in, dismissing it as a harmless game. We placed the board on a flat rock and placed our fingers on the planchette. John began asking questions, his voice trembling with a mix of excitement and apprehension. To our surprise, the planchette started moving, spelling out words that sent a chill down my spine. "Beware," it spelled. "The shadows watch." Nervous laughter erupted from the group as we accused each other of moving the planchette. But deep down, an unsettling feeling settled in my gut, like a foreboding whisper in the wind. We decided to call it a night, attributing the eerie encounter to nothing more than our overactive imaginations. I crawled into my sleeping bag, exhaustion weighing heavily on my eyelids. The forest seemed to have taken on a new life as the moonlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting a mosaic of shadows on the ground. I closed my eyes, trying to shut out the sense of unease that gnawed at me. In the dead of night, I was jolted awake by a faint whisper that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere all at once. My heart raced as I strained my ears, trying to discern the source. The whisper grew louder, a cacophony of indistinct voices that reverberated through the trees. Panic surged through me as I realized the whispers were not from my friends, who were sleeping soundly in their tents. I unzipped my tent and peered outside, my flashlight trembling in my hand. The forest was alive with movement, shadows writhing and contorting as if they had a mind of their own. My heart thundered in my chest as I called out to my friends, but they remained motionless, lost in a deep slumber. Terrified and alone, I stumbled back into my tent, zipping it shut and huddling in the corner. The whispers grew louder, the voices intertwining in a symphony of madness. I clamped my hands over my ears, desperate to block out the haunting chorus. Time lost all meaning as I cowered in my tent, the hours stretching into an eternity of torment. Just as I thought I couldn't bear it any longer, the whispers suddenly ceased, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. Trembling, I cautiously unblocked my ears and peered outside. The forest had returned to its stillness, the shadows once again mere extensions of the trees. The night seemed endless, but eventually the first rays of dawn painted the sky. Exhausted and shaken, I emerged from my tent, finding my friends still asleep, oblivious to the horrors I had endured. As the day wore on, I tried to convince myself that the night's events had been a hallucination brought on by exhaustion and fear. We packed up our campsite and headed back to civilization, eager to leave the forest behind. But the whispers followed me. In the days that followed, I heard them in the rustling leaves, the distant howling of the wind, and the faint echoes of my own thoughts. Sleep became a luxury, as every time I closed my eyes, the haunting voices returned, their words growing clearer and more menacing. I became a shell of my former self, haunted by the shadows and whispers that had invaded my mind. Desperate for answers, I returned to the forest alone, driven by an inexplicable compulsion to confront the source of my torment. The Ouija board lay abandoned on the same rock, a silent reminder of the nightmarish game we had played. I placed my fingers on the planchette, my heart pounding in my chest. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. The planchette moved, spelling out a name that sent a shiver down my spine. Malachi. The shadows around me began to twist and writhe, forming a grotesque figure that emerged from the darkness. Malachi stood before me, a towering embodiment of malevolence and despair. His hollow eyes bore into mine, and I felt his voice resonate within my mind. "You have awakened me," he hissed, his voice a chilling symphony of the whispers I had heard for days. "You have trespassed into my realm, and now you are mine." Terror gripped me as Malachi's words echoed in my head. I tried to flee, but his shadowy tendrils ensnared me, pulling me closer to his nightmarish form. His grip tightened, suffocating me as I struggled to break free. In that moment, I realized the truth. The forest was not just a collection of trees and shadows, it was a gateway to a realm of darkness and malevolence. I had unwittingly unleashed an ancient and vengeful entity, and now I was paying the price. As Malachi's grip tightened, the world around me dissolved into a swirling abyss of shadows and whispers. I screamed, my voice joining the chorus of tortured souls that had fallen victim to his curse. And then, there was nothing but darkness. To this day, I am trapped in the realm of Malachi, a prisoner of the forest and its haunting shadows. My cries join the whispers that echo through the trees, a warning to all who dare to venture into the darkness. Beware, for the shadows watch, and once they claim you, there is no escape. If you enjoyed this short horror story, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, as it would help a lot. Also, make sure to comment what story you want me to cover next.